Ladies and gentlemen, you may be wondering why Winnie Odinga is hitting the headlines of late. In fact, to quote the Standard, Winnie Odinga is the reincarnation of Raila Odinga. And of late, Winnie has been issuing some statements that have rubbed people the wrong way, especially people in the ODM leadership. You saw for yourself during the ODM at 20 celebrations in Mombasa, it was very chaotic. And one of the controversial statements that were made there were made by none other than Winnie Odinga. So what is Winnie up to? What is her grudge? What is she fighting for? That is what I want to share with you in this video. And if that is a topic that interests you, I'll urge you to continue watching. If you do find value in our videos, consider subscribing to this channel. Ladies and gentlemen, like I said, Winnie has been hitting the headlines of late. But for us to better understand what Winnie is fighting for, it is important that we understand who she is and her thought process. Winnie is the true definition of a go-getter. Even though she's the last born, circumstances didn't allow her older siblings to be active politically, and Winnie did not let that opportunity slide. She grabbed it and not only served as Raila Odinga's secretary, but also a very close confidant. So close that when Raila Odinga was going to bargain with Uhuru Kenyatta in 2018, Winnie was among the very few people who attended that meeting. Raila Odinga, even during the Azimio campaigns, gave Winnie a very prominent role. You would see her on top of vehicles, and you would see her having a say in how the campaign was run. Even after the elections of 2022, when Raila Odinga was on the streets, anti-Ruto demos, the cost of living demos, Winnie played a role, and she was there. In fact, Winnie Odinga has a company, a consultancy company, that deals with campaign issues. So she's a go-getter. She's somebody who is not just going to let an opportunity go or slide. She is going to grab that opportunity, no matter what. And she doesn't fear controversy. She's a tough individual who perhaps has seen that at times being tough is all you need to get things done. And so when she made certain remarks during the funeral service of her father, people with political bones in themselves could read a lot. For instance, when Winnie said and addressed the president that I'm ready to come back home. Remember, she is an MP at the East African Legislative Assembly. She was pointing to playing a prominent role in running Kenya's political space. And so some people didn't take that seriously. But what gave it away were the recent remarks, because recently Winnie said two things that were very important to note. One, that nobody is going to sell ODM. You can't sell ODM in boardrooms. That is number one. Two, you can't discuss the sale of ODMs in bedrooms. Of course, some people read a lot into that and said that perhaps she was throwing jabs at a certain politician. But where she became very clear is when she challenged the capacity of our own Uncle Oburu to lead ODM. She was even insisting that there need to be a proper way of picking the leadership of ODM. She suggested the National Delegates Conference to be held so that ODM can get fresh minds that can negotiate or can deal or can handle Ruto. So what was this all about? Why is Winnie being antagonistic against ODM leadership as it is constituted? Why is she against that? Well, I want you to look at it from two angles. One is about dynasty politics, and that is for lack of a better word. Raila Odinga or the Odingas have ruled Luos since independence. Yes, I want to repeat that. The Odinga family has ruled Luos politically or even culturally since independence. And that comes with a lot of privileges, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of privileges. And that is something that Winnie is not keen to let go. Here is why. Winnie is looking at the Moi dynasty and the Uru dynasty, and she's seeing that these dynasties are on their deathbed in terms of who is going to take over. Should Gideon Moi not be there, or should Uhuru Kenyatta not be there? And she doesn't want that vacuum. So she wants to take over from her father. After all, she's inspired by what the father did. Remember, when Jaramogi was dying, Raila Odinga was not the heir apparent, was not like the person who was believed was going to take over. What Raila did instead, he fought for the control of Ford, and when he couldn't, he picked a big chunk of Ford, formed a new party, and has led Luos ever since. There is a part of Winnie that believes she can reenact that she can challenge the leadership of ODM, and should that not work, she picks a big chunk out of it and form something that the Luo community will resonate with. That is one angle of looking at it, the dynasty part. Winnie would want to be the heir apparent. She would want to take over from Raila Odinga and lead the Luo community. Like I said, it comes with a lot of privileges, especially at the national level, because you will be bargaining with Luos to get whatever it is that you want. But that is superficial in my view. That is perhaps the secondary reason. The primary reason why Winnie is looking agitated and fighting and even daring our own uncle, who, remember, is the spokesperson of the entire Odinga family, somebody that Raila Odinga consulted on everything, whether it is broad-based government or what. Why do you think Winnie is going after Oburu? To understand why Winnie is going after Oburu, look at ODM as a business, not as a political party. Let me just paint for you a faint picture. ODM receives in excess of 400 million money from the political funds. As if that is not enough, ODM has a lot of MPs. These MPs make monthly contribution. They have over 500 MCAs. Those MCAs make monthly contribution. They have 12 governors or more. Those governors make monthly contribution. ODM, if you are to go with their public financials that they released in 2023, ODM is worth billions. And so when you look at ODM as a money minting machine, as a business, then you would realize that ODM in itself is more valuable to the Odinga's family, to Raila's family, for instance, than any other business they are involved in, because it is bringing in money. And remember, Raila Odinga was ODM and ODM was Raila Odinga. It means all these resources were under the control of Raila Odinga. And Winnie is not so sure that the leadership that is taking over ODM will play ball. She's not sure whether Oburu Odinga is going to play ball and ensure that the billions or the money is controlled by the Raila's family. She's not sure whether the new deputy party leaders and even Gladys Wanga, the party chairman, is going to play ball. And so she is fighting them. That is why she was categorical that there needs to be a national delegate conference to get new leadership. And if you thought she was kidding, there is an independent lobby that has already filed a petition to have Oburu Odinga resign from leadership because he was picked illegally or because he is not qualified to lead ODM. So Winnie is not joking about this. She is like, there is no way we can leave this ODM enterprise in the hands of people we can't control. So if it is not Winnie in charge of ODM, At least she needs people who are going to take orders from her and allow them to continue running the ODM enterprise. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the main reason why Winnie is fighting. And she's not going to stop. That one I can assure you. As time goes, she's going to gain momentum. There are people who are going to join her in the cause. Currently, there are those who are also agreeing with her that Oburu Odinga is not fit to lead. And I've told you, it's not because she cares about ODM or she cares about the values of ODM. That is none of Winnie's business. I can tell you that for sure. She doesn't care about that. What is at stake here are the billions. Who is going to control them? Can she trust Oburu Odinga with these billions? Can she trust the likes of Junet with these billions? That is the main issue here. And so, ladies and gentlemen, that is why Winnie is fighting Oburu Odinga. If somebody was to ask you, you can look at it in two ways. The reason as to why Winnie is fighting Oburu, one, she wants the control of Luos. She feels that if Oburu is there, Oburu may leave that thing to Jaoko, and then you see the leadership would have gone from Raila to the Oburus. She's not comfortable with that, so she's going to fight it. But that is superficial. The main issue is the ODM billions. Will she succeed? Well, two things must work in her favor for her to succeed. Luos must obey her the way they obeyed Raila, because that way, if she's fighting Oburu, then she has a real support behind her. But I don't think that is going to happen, because even now people are dismissing her. So I don't think the Luo people are behind her. But also too, the faction of ODM that supports her are the minority. The likes of Sifuna, Ososi, these are the minority even in the ODM leadership. So it's very difficult for them to remove Oburu Odinga. Remember, Nasir, the deputy party leader, told Winnie that if you want National Delegates Conference, we can call it, but know very well that even after that National Delegates Conference, Oburu Odinga will still be the party leader of ODM. So they were daring her because they know they have the majority in terms of influence. Winnie was very close to the father, close to the money, but in terms of influence in the party, in terms of controlling or being a voice that party members can listen to, you can't compare Winnie even with Junet. Junet has a sway, he has a say even within ODM. You can't compare Winnie with the likes of Joho. You can't compare Winnie with Mbadi or even Gladys Wanga. Those people have influence. The only thing that would have worked for Winnie is if people saw her as the heir apparent of Raila Odinga. So that way they would be like, okay, we loved Raila and we have no problem with his daughter taking over. But that is not the mood in Luonyas, I can assure you. They are not so much into having Winnie as their leader. That may change, but currently that is not the case. So as things stand, she might not succeed. But I want to assure you she's going to fight. And two things are also working in her favor. There is that sympathy that she had just lost her father. So attacking her at times is going to be seen as being insensitive. Okay? So those may work in her favor. And of course, she can excuse every statement she makes as her just still grieving. That way, she gets away with everything she says. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I just wanted to share with you the main reason why Winnie is fighting Oburu Odinga. If you found value in this video, let me know in the comment section. And please don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like this video and share it with your friends. Otherwise, if you want to know just how hypocritical Sifuna is, watch this video.